Well, Joseph, my first fear about the World Cup was that we'd played out all our best form prior, beaten Sri Lanka, and then turn up at World Cup opener and muck it up. But it was far from that. I thought it was a comprehensive performance.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a good all-round team performance that it was hard to know who was the player of the match for New Zealand. Most of the batsmen made runs, and the bowlers, all of them took wickets, and then everyone fielded well. It was a very impressive World Cup opener.
I don't want to sound too confident at this stage, but it does look like one of the best balanced sides that New Zealand's put out in any form of cricket.
Yeah, well, it's hard, with Guptill making runs again, it's hard to find a weakness in that New Zealand team. I mean, they've got good at the top of the order, explosive batting further down, they've got good spin bowlers, Vittoria's outstanding in one-day cricket, and good pace bowlers. I think they've got everything covered.
There's three players we'll talk about who we did have doubts about last time we spoke. Elliott, for instance, a big controversial selection, can't have done much more.
Yeah, full credit to Bruce Edgar and Mike Hesson, I suppose, because most people wouldn't have picked him, and he's turned out to be absolutely as good as anyone in that team.
And Corey Anderson, another one who has had star status thrust upon him, now starting to be very consistent.
Yeah, that guy looks strong. He really looks like if you give him 6 or 7 overs near the end of the innings, he can turn the whole thing around. And he bowls a heavy ball as well. He's a very good person to have in your team coming in at 5, 6 or 7.
And look at Vittori, doubts for about his longevity in this game, but boy, has he been a difficult customer. Looks to have secured the spin spot well and truly. Yeah,
I think he's the best one-day bowler in the world. I mean, it really looks to me like when Vittori bowls that the opposing batsmen get together and think, if we can get through this 10 overs and his figures are none for 35, we'll be happy. They don't look like they're ever trying to collar him. And it's funny, he's doing it just by being clever. He doesn't spin the ball much, but he's delivering the ball from different parts of the crease. Some balls drift in, some are straight, a little bit quicker, a little bit more flighted. The caveat to it all is that it's one-day cricket, so you go and play a team like the West Indies and you know you're better than them, and Gale goes and has a great day and makes 190, nothing you can do about it. It is a form of the game where one player can actually win a match.
England looks in disarray at the moment. They had the argument over the captain at the last minute and then appointed Morgan and he can't score a run, and they seem to have arguments. It's quite messy.
No, England, and also they've been put through the grinder by Australia over there. So, yeah, no, they're not happy at the moment. And it's hard to find an area where they're really great. They've got a couple of useful pace bowlers, but no better than several other attacks and not as good as a couple. And not much else in that whole team. I don't think that's a batting lineup to strike fear into any bowling attack.
And Australia, they bounced back so well. They went to the UAE and they were a bit embarrassed by Pakistan, who struggled against us, but they come back here. Suddenly their confidence is back, and they seem to be, it's hard to knock them off the perch.
Yeah, it doesn't take much for an Australian team to be confident, does it? If they just win the toss, they're okay again. And they are good. I mean, they've got good batting, and like the really good teams, like New Zealand at the moment, and like South Africa, as we saw in their opening match at the World Cup, Australia are good and resilient. They lose a couple of wickets at the top of the order and they can still make a 300-plus score.
I like the way New Zealand's embraced this. They've bought the tickets en masse and really taken to the tournament. It hasn't taken much, I think, to sell it to them. The form of the team's helped.
Oh, definitely. It's a bit like the 92 World Cup. Once that team that Martin Crowe was captaining, once it got onto that winning streak, the country got right in behind, and the country was behind this team beforehand because they'd had such a good build-up. It's really nice that there's been no letdown once the World Cup has started. I must say, I thought Hagley Oval is a real asset. We've got such good cricket grounds now around the country, not just grounds, but like the University Oval or Hagley Oval or the Basin or the one in Hamilton. I mean, they're specific cricket grounds, and they're beautiful.
And the drop-in pitches have made a big difference. I mean, you look at the state of the grounds we played in 92, looking at that old footage, some of them are just awful, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a bit like watching an old rugby match and seeing all the players caked in mud, and you never see that now either in a top-class game because the drainage is so good. And you're right, I mean, those drop-in pitches, there's no bad pitches, and you don't see all those bare patches around anymore, do you?
And one of the things, watching some of those old games, I haven't watched them all, but a player like Andrew Jones is a forgotten hero, isn't he? Because he was a fantastic player, he had his own style, but it was very, very effective.
Oh, I think he was a great bat. I mean, I got into trouble one time. I picked an all-time New Zealand Test team for a book I wrote, and I put Andrew Jones in and didn't put Bert Sutcliffe in, and heaven and earth opened up on top of me. But actually, I mean, Jones is very underrated. He was a very good player, even against the best attacks. Incidentally, looking at those 1992 matches, hasn't the game become more slanted in favour of batsmen? I mean, they have shorter boundaries by a long way, 15 metres or more. Their bats are so much heavier. You have to have more fieldsmen. You can't put them all back to save runs now. And even a thing like free. If you bowl a no ball, you get a free hit. Everything is slanted in favour of the batsman.
That's why the records are always being broken, aren't they? Because it's easier to score runs, it's harder to maintain bowling averages, all those things thrown out the window.
Yes, I think the batsmen have got better at limited overs cricket too. I think they've got more inventive. You never saw a ramp shot in 1992, and batsmen weren't trying really to hit sixes then. Martin Crowe made 100 at Eden Park and just played beautifully, like a mini test match really. I suppose they try to hit more sixes now because even a mishit will go for six because of the bats. But I think the batsmen have improved. But having said that, it is a lot easier for them, no question.
And I think T20's helped as well. It's got them in a frame of mind where they can play shots with some more confidence than before.
Yes, almost got to the stage now where they're playing 50 over cricket like a T20 match. Certainly for the last half of the innings. They're trying to go at 12 or 14 runs and over.
There's still that little patch in the middle where it's a bit of an accumulation and the other team can't get wickets that they're always trying to address with power plays, but they haven't quite sorted that out yet for me.
No, I think what will happen is there'll be a huge emphasis on not losing wickets for the first 15 or 20 overs, and then they'll treat it like a 30 over, they'll bat like it's a 30 over T20 match. You'll have 30 overs of blazing away as long as you've got wickets in the bank.
Well, let's turn our attention to the Halberg Awards. We discussed at length last time, the prospects. Some things worked out, some things didn't. But let's go first to the woman, and Lydia Ko. She's the darling, isn't she? But I'm not quite sure that was right.
Well, let's be clear about this. This is for the 2014 year. So the fact that she's number one in the world now is irrelevant. So I'm sure that in years to come, people will go, well, what did she do to win in 2013? And then what did she do to win again in 2014? I mean, she's won no majors at all. And in fact, she hasn't won anything of substance like that at all. To beat world champions like Emma Twigg and Lisa Carrington and Val Adams, who had an incredible year, it tells me that she's a media darling and an Auckland product, and there are a lot of voters from Auckland, but I don't see any merit in that. I don't see why she's won that award.
I think Adams might have been the World Athlete of the Year in the eyes of the athletics people, so that's how highly they rate her.
Yeah, I mean, she was great. I personally would have given it to Lisa Carrington because she won a world title and won it again and expanded her repertoire to go into a second event where she was second in the world. So, I mean, these are great sportswomen, and to give it to someone because she's young and because you like her is ridiculous to me.
And then we had the contention of McCullum wins the male sportsman of the year and the public vote for the moment, of course, which encapsulated everyone with the 300, but still couldn't make an impression when it came to the overall winner.
Well, nothing against Bond and Murray because they're sublimely good rowers, and they're not just winning world titles, they're winning them by 10 seconds when normally you're winning by fractions of a second, so they're fantastic. But really, I don't know how you wouldn't give McCullum that overall award. Certainly, if you looked at a performance that's not going to be repeated, it's McCullum's. We won't have a New Zealand cricketer who does that again in the foreseeable future, whereas Bond and Murray have done what they did each year for the last few years.
One argument put to me was that is it fair that a player who's supported by a team gets an overall winner, because he couldn't have done it without Nesham and the rest of the team that day. So that suggests to me, if we go down that avenue, they shouldn't even be nominated if they're not going to be considered.
I think that's a really stupid argument, actually. I mean, you could say, how could Lydia Ko win it? I mean, she's got a caddy out there helping her. She's got a team coaching her and managing her. I mean, everybody's part of a team. To me, there's no argument at all to that.